Hello everyone. Before we start this week's episode, I just wanted to jump on here and communicate that we here at the Movie Calendar, both Terrence and myself, are in full support of the Black Lives Matter movement. We see you, we stand with you, we hear you, and we will echo your voices. There is links in the description below to a couple of organisations that we have chosen for you to donate to. If there are any that you would like to highlight in particular, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you for your support, and on with the show.
They want you to join the Klan?
They want to meet me first.
They want to meet you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you probably shouldn't go to that meeting.
Good call, Sarge.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Movie Calendar. My name is Lee.
My name's Terrence.
And this week we're going to be talking all about Spike Lee's BLACKkKLANSMAN from 2018. Ever since I saw this film, I think in last week's episode in The Departed, I said that the movie came out in 2019. I was wrong. It does come out in 2018. I think I saw it in 2019, which is why I had that connection. With that out of the way, super excited to talk about this film. We're going to get into our socials real quick. If you've been here before, you know how it works. Time codes in the description below if you want to jump straight to the beginning of the film discussion. Otherwise, hang out with us while we go through our socials. And then we'll do a rundown of the film and what it's about. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out at the moment. It's on Netflix here in Australia. So definitely give it a watch. It's a recommend from both of us.
Yep. Do you want me to go through? I'll go through socials. All right.
Please.
So please look us up on Twitter. We are at The Movie Cal. Look us up on Instagram, The Movie Cal. Go to, I always forget after that. We have a website. The website, themoviecalendar.com. And please reach out via email if you've got great dates for movies that we're talking about. Tell us the story of why you think it should be on that date by emailing us at themoviecal@gmail.com. We're on all the podcasts. Well, not all. We're on a lot of the podcast platforms. So, whichever one you're using, see if we're there. Look for us, Movie Cal. And, contribute where you can. Contribute, comment below in the episodes as well. And share your love that way.
Yeah. We're also, if you are listening to us on your favorite podcast app, we have a YouTube channel as well where this is all uploaded, unedited. If you want to see our happy little faces as we talk about the films.
Good point.
So if I'm not as animated as I usually am, I'm recovering from a bit of a neck injury at the moment. If you're watching on YouTube, so I've kind of got like the Keaton Batman turn happening at the moment. So I'm going to try my best not to aggravate it as much as possible. But if you see me twinge, it's just I'm getting over a little neck injury.
I'll try not to make you laugh. I know how you laugh with your whole body, and you limber and you
I'm super limber. No, I'm normally all tensed up and clenched at all times, ready to pounce.
So in other words, no one will ever know that you have a sore neck.
But so we're going to be talking about, as we've already said, as you can see, Spike Lee's BLACKkKLANSMAN.
Mm-hmm.
So this film is all about a man called Ron Stallworth. This is based off a true story, and he was the first African-American police officer in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and then becoming a detective as well, who ended up infiltrating his way into the Ku Klux Klan. You wouldn't believe that this was a real-life thing, but it absolutely is. You can check out the book that it's based off, from 2014. It's more of a memoir, and directed by Spike Lee and produced by Jordan Peele's production company Monkey Paw, which we'll talk about that a little bit at the end as well. But if you haven't seen this film, give it a watch. It's one of those pieces of art that is really challenging in a good way, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit as well. But give it a watch and then continue with the episode.
If anyone watching this now or listening now also caught our last episode, you will know that I had not seen this film. And when we announced that we're going to be doing this film, I was fully entrusting Lee's advice, thinking, yep, no problem. I know this is a good film. I've heard good things about it. What I didn't know about it was that it was not a comedy per se. Through some of the trailers I'd seen, and maybe the own conceptions that I'd drawn, which is silly because it was a Spike Lee film and it's going to be heavy in some way or another. But I went into this thinking it was totally different to what it actually was. And the last half of the film, my heart was pounding, Not only because of what was happening in the film, but because I thought, oh man, we're going to go and talk about this thing and put our thoughts out to the world about it. I have to watch this a second time. So in the last couple of days, I've seen it twice.
I have to admit, when I was rewatching it this week, I had that moment where we'd already announced that we were going to do it, sat down and watched it, and the movie finished, and I had that oh crap moment of I don't know how we're going to do this, and then, which I think is a testament to how important this film is to be seen by as many people as possible, and completely justifies it being on the movie calendar. As soon as I saw it for the first time, all I wanted to do was just talk about it with people and get them to see it. Yeah. Because it's one of those ones that as I just said, like it challenges you as a person and the piece of art that it is, and in a really good way. I can't wait to get into some of that. But yeah, no, I had that real kind of nervousness of I don't know how we're going to talk about this. We are going to be talking about the film as a film. So we're going to be talking about the actors, the characters, the directing, the cinematography, the editing, the bits that we liked, maybe the bits that were confronting, but no, we're not here to get political. As we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, you know our stance on it all, and links in the description below to those organizations. And if you've dropped yours down there, thank you for that, and thank you for your support. But yeah, with that being said, should we get straight to it?
Let's do it. Let's do it justice. I wrote lots and lots of notes, and I actually did a little bit of research for some of the things that I wanted to talk about in this, or at least maybe not to talk about them, but just to give myself some better understanding of everything that was touched on in the film. So I feel better about talking to everyone about it as well. So, you know, if nothing else, this has made me want to research a whole lot more about a lot of the things that happened in the film, which are, you know, definitely going to branch me out anyway.
Yeah, part of the reason why
I was nervous.
Yeah, part of the reason why I wasn't all too comfortable about talking about a lot of the politics and things that are shown in this film is I just don't know enough about them. I'm not educated enough to have an opinion really on these things. But yeah, it has done that thing where it has given me this thirst for knowledge where I want to do more research and learn more so I can talk about it. I'm just not at the point at the moment where I'm comfortable doing so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what this film does so well is that it's both a hilarious romp and also like a harrowing mirror that's just shown about our modern time as well. Even though it's set in the early 70s, there are obvious parallels in here to what's happening in present day. And I kind of hope that we get to a point in society where this film becomes like a relic of the past, where you kind of look on it and going, wow, I can't believe that people could do these horrible things. I really, really hope that we get to a point like that. Because, yeah, there's some just atrocities that are shown in this film. And I really like that it does show the KKK as what they are, which is a terrorist organization.
It's funny you mentioned that, like specifically in the way of hoping that this film can be looked at in the past. It can be looked at in the future as a relic of the past. Because there's direct reference to a film that I would like to say is a relic of the past. I wrote it. See, this is one of the things I had to research.
Birth of a Nation is what you're thinking of.
Birth of a Nation. That film,
1915.
You know. So that, you know, hopefully we can look back at it like this and go, oh man, how could that have even been made? And worse, how could it have been watched? Oh, not with BLACKkKLANSMAN. Okay, it could be watched because it's entertaining and it's good for all the good reasons. But yeah, I had seen reference to the film Birth of a Nation years ago, and I didn't believe that it was actually a film that was made. I didn't believe it. So, you know, Spike has brought it to light again with just highlighting the despicable nature of what the thought process was way back then, and how equally despicable it is that it still existed in the 70s and hurtfully still today.
Yeah, well, that film kind of gave a new rise to the Ku Klux Klan, which is just horrible in every possible way. But the reason why Spike wanted to use it in the film was because he was, I don't want to say forced, but he was made to study it in film school. I'm not sure what film school he went to, but yeah, it was shown and taught by the professors when he was at film school, and obviously wasn't okay with that, and so butted up against that and became the prolific filmmaker that he is today. But yeah, he wanted to kind of show it for how gross it actually is. But yeah, what the film does really well, and I'm going to talk about this a lot, is use humor. And this was Spike's choice to do this. The original script apparently didn't have as much humor in it at all. It was all very harrowing. Was injecting the humor in there was to kind of not make it more palatable. I think that does it a disservice to say, but just to allow the atrocities to occur in a way that it's not too over the top, that you don't just walk away from it and turn it off.
Yeah, I agree. Palatable is probably not the right word, but it makes it easier to ingest while paying attention to it for what it is.
Yeah,
I don't know. There's a lot to say with humor. Humor is so powerful in so many ways, and he uses it really nicely, which the actors bring to life so well. The characters are based on real life, right?
Yeah.
Well, some of them at least. But Anyway,
I think
let's continue.
I think it balances it out. Yeah, it balances it out a little bit. No, I'm happy to get straight into the characters now. We'll jump straight on in. So I haven't said who's starring in this film, so I'm going to do that because the cast is incredible in this movie. So I'm just going to mention a handful here. We've got John David Washington, Adam Driver, Laura Harrier, Topher Grace, and I'm throwing Alec Baldwin in there because he's so good in the movie, and the small little bit that he's in right at the beginning, that he's definitely worth a mention. And also, I'm going to shout out Corey Hawkins, who I don't know who has done much else nothing that I've seen. But yeah, he plays Kwame Ture in the film, who does the speech at the Black Student Union. And it was just such a powerful moment in the film for me that I wanted to shout him out. So yeah, his name is Corey Hawkins. Check him out. Mm-hmm. Why is he not in more things? I want to see him in everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool. I liked his whole look as well. He just oozed. I want to say he oozed power. Yeah.
Yeah, literally, he encapsulated that person.
Yeah.
Really well. Incredible performance. But we'll start with Ron Stallworth himself, John David Washington. And if for those of you who don't know, because I didn't know this and was absolutely mind blown when I found out, and it's literally right there in his name, John David Washington. He is Denzel Washington's son.
I thought he sounded like Denzel.
It's crazy. And as soon as you hear that and you see it, you go, of course he is. Like, you just have to look at the charisma and the confidence that just oozes out of him. Mm-hmm. He is absolutely his father's son.
Wow.
And he is incredible in the film. But yeah, Denzel Washington's son, I had no idea until this week.
Cool. The scene where they're in the locker room and he's coaching, what's it, Adam Driver's character?
Flip Zimmerman.
Yeah, he's only a lead. When he's coaching Flip how to speak like him.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, wait, is he a bit Denzel here? You can hear it. It. Wow.
Channeling Denzel. Yeah, it's so cool, right?
Really cool.
It's like literally right there in his name, and I didn't pick it up until I was just doing a little bit of research in the film. I think I found out because there was a piece of trivia on IMDb where his first ever film role was in Malcolm X as a student, which obviously stars Denzel Washington, and so he just would have brought his son on to be one of the students in the film.
Spike Lee film, yeah.
Another Spike Lee film, yeah, fantastic. So yeah, that's amazing. I cannot wait to see him do more stuff. He is just incredible. He's slated at this point in time. Tenet hasn't come out from Christopher Nolan's Tenet. He plays the lead in that, and yeah, I can't wait to see it. After watching this, I just want to see him do everything. But yeah, his really character is so good and so well written. Well, all of the characters are so well written, and a couple that I'll get to in a little bit. But yeah, I think he plays the conflict really well because he's stuck right in between, like with what he does as a job and then also in his love life. He's caught between kind of activism and a sense of service and duty. Like he loves his job. He loves being a police officer as much as it is especially in that area and at that time. It's kind of weird to think that it's a racist institution. Nothing like that happening at the moment. But yeah, he genuinely loves his job and wants to do good things within it. And then caught between that and the Laura Harrier's character that he meets early in the film, Patrice, who is an activist. It sort of sparks something inside him that he hasn't seen before. And power to both him and to Patrice's character as well. They both kind of stick to their guns and are kind of unwavering as characters with their beliefs, which is just so nice to see, especially for female characters. And I'm going to talk about Patrice for a while, but yeah, for those who know me personally, know that I'm a huge proponent of women in film. And yeah, to see a character like this have onus over herself and not waver from her beliefs just because a man comes into her life, was just such a nice thing to see in a film, and we need more of it.
Yeah, it was good right till the end, wasn't it? Oh, pardon me. Right to the end, but she pretty much has said, "No, I can't live like this. We can't do this anymore."
Yeah, I can no longer sleep with the enemy, and they have this conversation at the end that is vital to show their characters and where they still stand and what they believe in was wonderful right before the film ends. But yeah, I think Ron Stallworth, obviously based off a real person who actually did these things in the film. There's a few historical inaccuracies. For one, they set the film a little bit earlier so that it could parallel with some of the other things that were happening in the US at the time, which is fine. Like, it's not a documentary. It is a film, so it is designed for entertainment purposes. He crushes it for me. All of the scenes that he has on the phone and with with Laura Harrier's character Patrice and with the people within his work unit are all just outstanding.
He's such a he was so smooth and unwavering. The only thing that jilted his character when he was discriminated against, and he says at the beginning he wasn't going to falter, but even that he was just too strong. Like, how can you just push it down? How can you bury it? But there were the times when I was waiting, I was getting really anxious when there were moments where he was being pushed. I thought, wow, come on, what are you going to do? Whatever you do, I'm with you. But I love how he played that role.
Excellent lens.
I'm glad you mentioned Laura Harrier, Patrice, who played Patrice, because I've recently been watching the series called Hollywood, and she is a lead in that. Amazing.
Oh, really?
And I was watching this film thinking, where have I seen this person before? and I only through IMDb, and it was the first link below. I'm like, oh man, I love her. So it was really, really nice that she'd actually done this prior to what I just seen her in. That was cool. And also Michael Buscemi. So I'm guessing, is Steve's brother. Looks just like him. He was.
Is he the
Jimmy.
other detective?
He's the other detective. Yeah.
I didn't look at his character. There was too many others that I wanted to kind of get to.
So while Ron is
that makes
Denzel's
sense. He does
son,
look like him.
Mike. It looked like Steve. It looked like Steve Buscemi on camera as well. He's kind of embodied his brother with his whole actions and the way he speaks too. Even his comedy, his timing. But yeah, that's another link there. I've just got my list of people here.
Like, I know
Harry Belafonte.
Laura, just before we get too far away from it, Laura Harrier, I know from, and again, I'm a huge comic book nerd. If you're not watching on YouTube, behind me there's a bunch of comic book paraphernalia. There's a little Spider-Man just here. I'm pretty sure he's in the shot. She's in Spider-Man Homecoming, which she shot the year before this, where she plays a 16-year-old high school student who Peter Parker wants to take on a date to the prom.
Oh, really?
And so to see her go from that to like the next film she did was this, where because she was born in 1990, I think I found out. Yeah, so she would have been, I don't know, 27 or something when she filmed this. So 26 when she was playing the 16-year-old in high school. But yeah, she is so good in this film. And a lot of that is to do with the writing. So kudos to the writers for making her such an interesting character and well-realized character. But yeah, no, the performance behind the words as well is just wonderful. Yeah, unwavering in her beliefs to the point where she knows what she wants and how to get it, and nothing's going to stand in her way. And it's a joy to see that on screen.
Yeah.
And yeah, more of it, please.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so well, let's keep talking. There are other characters. Oh, okay. So did you want to talk any more about Ron Stallworth? I
think he'll be dotted in throughout the discussion as well. Like, but no, I've praised John David Washington enough, and will again. But no, I'd love to talk about Adam Driver as cool. Philip Zimmerman.
Yes,
Philip Zimmerman, as he plays. If you haven't seen the film, he plays the white version of Ron Stallworth when Ron calls the Ku Klux Klan and they want to meet. So he needs to find a white detective to go in his stead to pretend to be him in person to try and infiltrate further into the organization. And he
couldn't sound any more different.
His character is Jewish as well. So to see a Jewish man and an African American man infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan is just so much fun.
That's why I thought it was a comedy.
And hilarious to see on screen. Yeah, it's a straight up comedy. No, there's a lot of drama in here as well. It's well balanced. But yeah, his character is really good. I really like that he kind of has these moments of reflection around his identity and what heritage means. Because as he says, he never grew up Jewish. It wasn't something that he practiced. His family never really did it. He wasn't friends with anyone Jewish. He never went to any bar mitzvahs.
He never had a bar mitzvah.
Never had one himself.
Yeah.
So
he just grew up white.
Yeah, by the actions of what he was doing, by infiltrating this horrible organization, it's kind of come into light some questions that he kind of started bringing on himself, and that was a really nice thing to see, and a nice character development for him, where he kind of was forced to think about these things that he'd never really thought of before. It was really, really sweet.
Well, and then and what he says is all he's doing is now denying that is actually what he is. He's actually fighting against the fact that he is, after being brought up not identifying as Jewish at all.
Yeah.
And that in turn made him realize, little things like when he walked away in that scene, he says, I don't want this card. I don't want it.
He has my favorite acting moment in the film.
Yeah.
Which is in that scene when he's talking about the card and he's talking about his identity and heritage, and he's been thinking about these things a lot lately. And he's like, it's not something I've ever thought of before. And he just gives this little laugh to himself, but it's full of so much pain. He just gives a little, huh. And it's so well performed by Adam Driver. Just this subtle little moment you can see in his body and in his eyes and on his face that he's got this conflict within himself now that's never been there before. Like, he's starting to think as someone who is, who has been put into a box or being stereotyped against because of through the actions that he's doing just by infiltrating the organization. And yeah, it's such a really nice character moment, and yeah, speaks volumes to how good of a performer Adam Driver is. He's wonderful.
Yeah, I've seen him in one other thing as well, which he was unbelievable. He was in the series Girls, and I haven't watched it all, but the episodes that I've seen where he was in it just blew me away.
Yeah, he's wonderful.
It was great. I think that the moment you're talking about is when he's kind of leaning forward and he realizes he says something like he's been passing for it. And it took me a while to realize what he's talking about, but it was that understanding of him denying who he was and now fighting. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, very, very powerful scene.
Yes, it was incredible. He's wonderful. If you want to check out an amazing performance of his, check out Marriage Story on Netflix. it's another sort of harrowing watch, and if you're in a relationship at the moment that's possibly a little bit rocky, maybe don't watch it with your partner or give it a miss. It's an incredible performance from both him and Scarlett Johansson. Masterclass of acting in that film.
Nice.
No, we've talked about Laura Harry's Patrice. I had her next on my list.
Yeah.
I've written down when I want to talk about the actors and the characters. I've actually written the characters' names. So Ron Stallworth, Flip Zimmerman, Patrice, and then I've written Topher Grace because I didn't want to write. I didn't want to have a physical piece of paper in my house that had the words David Duke on them. I started to write it and then was like, I just can't do it. My body just won't write it. So
do it, Lee.
But no, Topher.
It's only a movie.
Grace. I know it's only a movie, yeah, but he's very much a real person, and a horrible person at that. But Topher Grace is exceptional in this film. From the moment he comes on screen to all the way through, he plays the character so well. He's so vile and despicable and hateable. All of the members of the organization are, and I'll talk about them in just a moment. But yeah, Topher, he really brings this kind of sleazy scumbag, but not in a not in a cinematic way where like a villain is like a villain. It's very much kind of it's inside ugly and inside disgusting.
No, I think you're on the right path. Yeah, sleazy.
Yeah. Well, to get that across was really, really challenging.
And his moustache.
The mustache is gross.
He wears it well for his character. Yeah.
If you wanna see a good mustache, and Terrence has a marvelous one.
If you want to see one, don't close your eyes right now, or quickly go to YouTube.
For people listening in the audio version, Terrence has a glorious mustache for you to check out.
It is not.
He's wonderful. He actually he did study David Duke. He watched interviews and read a whole bunch about him, which is, I can't imagine what that would have done to a person. In fact, when he finished filming this, he was in such a terrible state within his own mind.
Wow.
To sort of get out of it and to kind of kickstart his way out of it again, he took on a personal project where he decided to edit together all three of the Hobbit films, the trilogy, and edit them into one 2-hour movie. Just as a project to try and get over the fact that he just played this horrible person for so long. Yeah, I can't imagine what it would have done to live inside the skin of someone like David Duke for the amount of time to shoot a film would have been gross.
It'd be interesting to see what other actors who have portrayed serial killers and the worst people on earth. What Jared Leto did. Did he? No, who did Ted Bundy? I don't know. I can't remember, but some of the biggest serial killers in the US have recently had films made about them. So I wonder if they go through similar psychiatric massaging and I don't know, head mess ups.
I'd say so when doing stuff like this. But yeah, he's obviously all fine now. But yeah, like I thought it was a really interesting thing that because you don't really think about it, but it would have been. And like, listen to me going like, oh, this poor actor who makes all this money, and but seriously, there would be a psychological toll with doing something like that, and it would not have been a fun experience. Topher Grace was the first and only choice that Spike Lee had to play him. And what do you say when that call arrives? When it's Spike Lee, you don't say no. You turn up and you do the job. But yeah, so I'm glad that he kind of knew within himself that he had to take on a project to try and get over it a little bit. And I love the fact that project was just editing together the three Hobbit films into one 2-hour movie. That's a lot of fun.
There's someone where I work who's trying to convince me. I've seen 2 of the Lord of the Rings film, and I watched them at the cinemas when they were released. In the cinemas.
Have you not seen all of the Lord of the Rings movies?
Tell me the third one's name and I'll tell you if I remember it.
Return of the King?
Jedi, did you say? I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
I
can't believe this. I can't believe this.
I tell you what, I've never been in a more... I tell you what, who says that? I have never been in a more packed cinema. People were standing at the back. They were, in the aisles. The ushers couldn't move people out when I watched the what's the second one called? The Towers.
The Two Towers. All right.
Towers,
Well, just before the audience leaves, all of the New Zealand listeners who have just unsubscribed, thank you for listening and goodbye. It's been nice to have you here on the movie calendar.
He, every now and then he says, "Oh, you've got to watch them. You've got to watch them." I'm like, what? And he says they're only like 3 hours long. I can't even remember how long they were, but I might see if Topher has released his version, and maybe I'll watch them.
No, you wouldn't be able to see it. It'd be copyright.
Jokes.
If it was ever put up somewhere.
Jokes, Topher, give me.
Wow, Lord of the Rings. I actually,
DM me.
I haven't seen the Hobbit films. I've seen Lord of the Rings numerous times.
Lee, unbelievable.
I haven't
I
seen
don't
the
know
Hobbit
if I
films.
should continue.
Apparently
Can't
they're horrible.
believe you haven't
So that's
seen
okay.
it.
All right. Well, this isn't an episode about Lord of the Rings or the
Shot
Hobbit.
60 frames a second, right? Okay, yep.
So we've got the other characters. I've just kind of collected a bunch of people here at once, and it is the Ku Klux Klan members that he are part of his chapter. Yeah, Walter and Felix and so on.
Ivanhoe.
And I think they are just so perfectly awful and disgusting.
Yes.
That they and also whilst they come across as wildly incompetent, which they are. There is always still that sense of fear that you have purely because of how ignorant and racist and awful they are. Mm-hmm. That there's always a constant threat level there, even though they are incompetent, which is a really interesting balancing act that they've kind of put in, because there's always fear anytime you're in that scene, even if it's a quote unquote funny moment. There's always this sense of dread that kind of overhangs. Yeah. Because of their ignorance and just sheer awfulness.
Because they're capable. That's what it is. They are.
I don't think they are capable.
They are terrorists. Well, maybe not capable.
I think they're incompetent.
Maybe not capable in the way of pulling off a plan to a T and following instructions and working it all out, but capable in the way of they do have the ability to go and maim someone and kill someone and hurt someone, and they wouldn't think twice about it. That's what I mean by capable.
Them just having the mentality that it's okay to do is scary enough.
Yeah.
Like you don't need them to be competent for them to be terrifying. No, which exactly. I think they knew really well, and to not make them capable was a very smart decision, because they are scary enough without having that.
One of the scariest characters was Felix's wife, Connie.
Awful.
The way when they're having their meeting, the first time when Flick goes to her house, to Felix's house, and they're having that meeting, and she's just giving them biscuits or whatever, and how she pops up in the middle of Felix running his mouth off about whatever rights he thinks he has, and then she pops up again. Oh, did you see it in the newspaper? There was this, and she starts mouthing off.
Yeah,
and brings out this newspaper clipping, and
she talks about how the young student, and I'm not going to say the words that she uses at any point in the film, but she says that there was the student was pulled over by the police and she was attacking them. Like, this woman is dangerous. She needs to be stopped. And like the scariest thing is, like, she genuinely believes that.
You know what? It was probably written in the newspaper
terrifying.
Like that. That was probably the thing that was even more terrifying, because I realised that the second time I watched it. She pulls out the newspaper clipping of that incident, and I thought, the way she's spinning it. But then I thought, no, it was probably in the paper like that they caused a ruckus, and the police had to, they probably pulled them over for some valid reason, and the drivers of the vehicle were causing distress to the police. Yeah. The poor policeman. It was probably written like that in the paper, because we know who the policemen were.
Most likely.
Yeah.
No, the media wouldn't do anything like that. What are you talking about?
No, not at all. Not at all. They've changed.
Yeah, they're much, much worse. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about as far as the actors or the characters go?
Look, I'm going to bring this up now because I don't know if I'll bring it up later. Specifically with Connie and Felix. Another scene that was really, really disturbing for me was towards the end of the scene, before the climax of the film happens, where they're both laying in bed, and they're talking about going and killing a man, and how she's speaking about it like it's a dream of theirs, this dream come true. I can't believe we're finally doing this. It's almost like they've just saved up enough to put a deposit down on their first house. How proud they are for working with each other and supporting each other through these tough times, and we're finally going to have what we want. We're finally going to cleanse the world. And the worst thing, not the worst thing, but what just put the nail in the coffin was how they ended that whole scene with the Nazi salute. I just thought, oh, this is laying it on thick. And this was really heart-pounding for me watching this, you know. That grossed me out a lot. And it prepared me for what was coming.
Yeah, well, then very quickly, because I was just about to jump into a different section, but I just want to talk about Alec Baldwin and it's such a good way to open this film with him, and just having him in this very small role. I don't know if he was a real person or what it was, but just
I think he was,
this propaganda that he was spinning for the KKK.
Yeah, he was playing a real person.
Oh, that's awful. But just the nuances that he kind of brought to the character, where he almost had like a form of Tourette's, where he kept kind of just shouting at himself or just repeating words, and it really introduced the film in a way where whilst the things that you were seeing were horrible and disgusting and disturbing, and the words were awful, it was done in this kind of comedic fashion. And I think that kind of sets up the movie as tonally for what it's going to be, where like it's going to be exactly that. It's going to be, you know, awful, disgusting things, but there's going to be some humor in here to kind of help you get through it. And Alec Baldwin is such a good actor. He was able to balance that perfectly well in the opening.
I think the way that they did that opening scene was quite well done, especially the way it started. Now, I said earlier, I did look online at a few little things, and I did find out that very first opening scene was from Gone with the Wind. So showing the mass bodies, which led into that speech that Alec Baldwin did. And apparently he was coughing and stammering and spluttering and clearing his throat and everything as a bit of to tease the actual man, whose name was Dr. Kennebrew Beauregard, who was a real figure who believed all that stuff as well. But I think what Spike was doing there, or what he might have been doing, was talking about how powerful film is.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
With Gone with the Wind being one of the most well-known, biggest, powerful films of all time, I guess you could say.
It was huge. Even at the time, it was massive.
And with what it stood for, and how they reference it later on with one of the phone call scenes, talking about, I can't remember the names of the characters, but talking about when one of them dies, and how you feel, and how it feels like when your dog dies, and it was a really weird parallel there back to the movie, but how that's a movie that had incredible weight of its time, and laid over the top of Alec Baldwin's speech was this. What was the film called again? The first Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation.
You know, that was over the top of newsreel footage of how America was changing over time, and how strong film is. And I hope that Spike is hoping that. I know that Spike is, with every single one of his films, he is delivering a message, and he's hoping that every one of his films has a real poignant place in history to landmark an occasion, and, you know, to lock it in and go, this was what we were feeling at this point. And we need to show these other films that had really bad views and really despicable ways of understanding, so that we know how far we've come. Let's look at what we're doing now.
There's few filmmakers that really kind of understand the power of film as a, you know, as much as we see it as an entertainment medium, it is also a medium for art, and art influences society in a way that is sometimes unrecognizable to the people that it's influencing, and he is very aware of that fact, and uses it for the better. And so power to him, and more people like that, for the better.
Even when he references other films of the 70s, like the are these blaxploitation films?
Yeah, a lot of them were where
Superfly, Shaft, that kind of thing. I like the references that they bring up, and that again is in Spike's style.
That was so much fun.
The screens of the movie posters at the time.
Ron and Patrice sort of talking and like, oh, which character would you prefer to be? And she was just flat out like, if like anyone against a who's playing a pimp, not them, like, because that's not good for our people. And, and sort of puts us and sets us back. And he's like, oh, but he's so cool. And she's like, that's the problem. That's what people think, and it's not us. That's not who we are. Excellent conversation. That whole moment.
I love that scene.
Is just wonderful.
That long shot. It was all in one take. I mean, the only time they could have cut is when they did put the movie posters up. But I want to believe
nice,
it was
easy cut there.
All in one take. Really nice shot. Really nicely framed and held, and right at the end as well. Of course, that's how you plan a shot for the timing of it, and how John David Washington's character, he goes into his kung fu moves at the end.
I love that bit.
Light. He's really good at that. His little frustration vents, especially at the beginning, in the
little flourishes like that develop his character.
Like in the records room.
Were really nice.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out as well, just to the characters of the higher ups in the Colorado Springs Police Department.
Yeah.
Sort of the I'm not sure what their ranks are.
One was Chief,
Sergeant, and Chief. Yeah, that'll do.
Chief Bridges and Sergeant Trapp.
Sergeant Trapp. Yeah. So they were excellent characters, and they didn't fall into a lot of films that sort of try to be progressive, end up falling into have you ever heard the term white savior?
No.
When it comes to filmmaking, there's a trope in certain films, and sometimes it's done okay, and a lot of the times it's not done well. But they don't fall into the white savior category, where our lead character Ron doesn't need them to, excel himself and be successful. He can rightfully do it on his own and stands on his own 2 feet. Which is really nice. I can give some examples for white saviors in other episodes, but yeah, they are not that, and so testament to the writing for not making them that.
It's interesting you say that, because there was one point in the film where Ron was pitching the idea of having 2 Rons.
It's exactly what I was thinking about.
But see, the chief is like, do you think you can pull this off? And I thought this was, I questioned this in the writing, and I thought, what are they actually saying here? And he said, so how can you pull this off? And he goes, well, we can do anything with the right white man.
Yeah.
I thought, hang on, isn't this exactly what they're not? Like, they're talking about the exact opposite of this, where we don't need...
I think that's just a very funny... That's just a very clever and funny line in the film. But in that scene as well, Sergeant Trapp goes to step in and defend Ron and what he's doing. And Ron says, look, if it's okay with you, I'll speak for myself. And he's like, yep, cool, and sits back. Like, so that's what I mean by they're not the traditional white savior character that you normally get, where the sergeant would be in there being like, no, like, he's gonna do such a good job, like, he's gonna do it, and like, cool, because this white man has said so, we're gonna let you do your thing. Like, he has onus over himself and what he wants to do, which of course he does. That's what you would expect.
I like
which is
that
really
as well.
nice.
I like that as well.
Yeah.
I with that line that I mentioned, I actually I still like to think that maybe it was a bit of a, we can all get along. We need the right...
No. I don't think so. I think it was more, that was Ron, the character of Ron Stallworth, having a jab at that, and right. This is like, sir, with the right white man, we can do anything. Like,
he was using
it's a little
all the
jab back at them to be
try
like,
and get what he would. Okay,
absolutely, that's what I think it is. I think that's him using it as a power move rather than the alternative. Okay. Absolutely,
the right
to get what he wants.
White man.
White, it's so good. His voice is so wonderful.
King's English.
I love how he says he can speak. Yeah, he can speak. Some people speak King's English. Some speak Jive. Ron Stallworth happens to be fluent in both.
Yeah,
such a good line.
I'll probably say it again later on. I think I mentioned earlier. How can these two not be how can they not be decipherable between one? No, how could you mix the two of them up? They sound so different. Adam Driver's voice is so low and so different sounding. He's a really bad actor as a character.
I think, I don't know. I think there's a disassociation that you always get on the phone.
Yeah.
And then once you've established what your phone voice sounds like and what your in-person voice sounds like, then you can kind of get away with it, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough.
But look,
enough.
regardless of whether this is unrealistic or not, this happened. This is a real thing. Like, this legitimately happened. So whether you believe that they pulled it off or not, they did. And they did an excellent job. And power to them and wonderful service. While we were talking about the chief, I'd love to talk about some of the cinematography that's used and the filmic techniques that are used in the film.
Okay.
Starting with ones that I noticed from the opening scene where where Ron is interviewing for the position to become the first African-American police officer in the area. And there's a lot of sort of reverse shot. Have you seen that before, where it's like the camera is like straight up like it is on us right now, and then the reaction shots go like the camera looks like it's sitting right in the middle of them, and it's going back and forth. It's not done over the shoulder like it normally is. And I love that technique, and it's used throughout the film everywhere. I don't know if this is a Spike Lee thing or not, or whether he's just used it for this film. I'm not too well educated on the rest of his filmography. I intend to be. But I haven't seen everything that he's done, so I don't know if it's something that he uses all the time. But I think it's really effective, and used in that first scene is wonderful.
It seems to not create it seems to interrupt the flow of a conversation, and make it seem a little bit more abrupt and jarring, and it can add a little bit of tension to it. I think, especially when the characters themselves don't move and actually show total.
Stillness.
Yeah, I'm looking for the right word. I can't think of total apathy to what's going on. Like, they're emotional. It's like, all right, can you do it or not? What's going to happen if you get called a name? Really, you're going to do that? All right.
It's used really well.
Yeah.
Also, when I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but a lot of the times when it's not every single time, but most of the times he's on the phone with one of the organization's members, the Dutch tilt.
It's only when he's on the phone to David Duke.
Yeah. No, I think it's used in the first one as well.
I don't think it is.
Maybe even subtly.
It's
but
only
the Dutch
when he's
the Dutch
on the phone
angles.
to David Duke. In nearly every David Duke shot. You know the one that it's not Dutch? The very last one.
Yes, where it's still. And he announces to him that that he's been speaking to a black man the whole time. Yeah. Hangs up the phone. I love that moment so much.
Yeah, the Dutch angle creates a lot of dis-ease and unevenness in the argument.
It's a classic. That's a classic film technique. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So there's certain films that use it so prolifically, and if you don't know it, as soon as it's pointed out to you, it can actually ruin some films.
We could call these films, the ones that overuse them, we could call them student films. A lot of student films, when they first learn this technique, oh wow, what a great
that's great. Yeah,
I know to do that.
When it's used sparingly and correctly, as Spike does here, to kind of give that sense of unease and tension, it's really effective. Even to the point where when they're talking and they want to have them in the same frame, the frame is split on a diagonal.
I'm glad
not
you said that.
like we are right now. Yeah, that was really nice.
I might play with something and create a diagonal tilt on us.
Oh yeah, so if you're looking on YouTube, this is what it's going to look like here.
Oh, I have to do it now? Okay, I'll do it.
And it's done. Yep, so he's done it now. And if he hasn't, then Terrence is lazy. No, I'm kidding. Terrence, you do wonderful work here, and you're an absolute wizard and magician for the
I've got to look calendar. At what's in the side of my frame so that I...
Oh, yeah, who knows what... You might even be able to see my microphone. Who knows? Oh, yeah, we could have royally messed this idea
next
up.
To me.
Yeah. Just one last technique that I wanted to talk about, and I kind of wanted to talk about this more in the What About Whens, because this is one of my What About Whens.
Okay.
But it's when the speech is happening with the is it the Black Student Union? Yes. Yeah, the Black Student Union speech.
Colorado College Black Student Union, yes.
Yeah. So when Kwame Ture starts his speech and starts getting the audience more and more captivated and hanging on every incredible word, they just have these silhouetted shots of these faces that just show how they show how powerful it is for them to be hearing these words of affirmation and getting told that they're beautiful and it was so powerful. And for me, it's my favorite scene in the film. And yeah, we get to see it through the lens of Ron Stallworth. And it seems like the character hasn't ever been experienced in this before. He's never experienced anything like this. And so when he starts to get into it, and you start seeing all of these faces float up on the screen with just a black silhouetted background,
the cutout heads.
It's really effective in getting its message across that of how important this moment is. And I definitely felt it. So that's a technique I wanted to shout out as well.
I like that one. I like that scene. How it's all. Again, this is one that almost could have been shot all in one take, because they definitely had one camera smack bang in front. They pretty much just had one point perspective on him speaking, and just slowly were tracking in and out through the whole thing, just really nice and subtle. And only every now and then did you get a different angle from his point of view or from over his shoulder. It was a really powerful moment, and the way that they cut to Ron every now and then, he was a bit torn with how to react, wasn't he? What do I do here?
Not only has he never experienced anything like this, it's also his first assignment as a detective.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's getting in for. He doesn't know if it's going to turn.
He's wearing a
turn violent. He's wearing a mic.
Yeah.
He's been prepped for what if someone pulls a gun on you and So so to see him kind of allow it to wash over him and was a really cool moment. And it's part of the reason as to why it stands out as my favorite part of the film. It's also really well edited. Look at that, how nice sneaky transition into editing. But when Kwame is talking, he's telling the Tarzan story.
Yeah.
And there's the quick cuts of every time he says, kill them, and it just cuts to all these different shots of him was really well done. And the editing throughout the entire film was incredible.
Yeah.
Especially when it like the scene where what's it being intercut with? There's the moment where it's the like initiation of the new clan members and Duke's there.
Yes,
it's being cut with the story
speaking.
Yes.
Jerome Turner is the name of the character that Harry Belafonte plays. The guy sitting in that big wicker chair, telling the story of, and I wrote it down here. I've got
Jesse.
it written.
Was it Jesse something?
I think it is. I want to say Washington, but it's not
Washington. I think it might have been.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's telling the story about this kid who was convicted of raping a woman, and the way that it's intercut between that story and the clan members watching Birth of a Nation was just it was so incredibly effective and powerful and excellent filmmaking. So incredible. I don't know what else to say about it other than it was just such an achievement in filmmaking.
And the choice of that story as well. I mean, that also gives a lot of reasoning for Spike to use the Birth of the Nation film, because that was the film that inspired this horrific public lynching. The story that. So what is it? He tells the story of the lynching of Jesse Washington, yes. And the paralleling of how he, as a child,
most of the
hiding,
reason why it happened.
He's hiding and watching from afar, and then you see Ron's character hiding in the top window looking down on it as well. And then to see the film play out. Yeah, and it almost could be seen as a play for play. If that movie didn't exist, you'd hope that it would have been handled differently, and not so barbarically. But the way that they kept all the, but they made sure they had the reactions from all the people in the room as well. When he mentions of the atrocities that the public does to him, and hearing those gasps and watching the reaction shots. Yeah.
So hearing the gasps of the the African American
little
group,
audience
hearing
he
the
has in the
story,
room.
and then hearing the cheers from the white people. It's so incredible. Such
From the
powerful
Klan, and they're
filmmaking.
screaming at the film, yeah, get him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just incredible. Did you have anything else
was
that you
very
wanted
smartly
to
done.
talk about with the cinematography?
Yes.
Or editing?
Yes. Oh, the first shot. How good is the first shot? Top down from, it looks like the banner. Top down, and John David Washington. I'm always going to mess that up. I always have to look at my note.
No, that's
He
all right.
walks into frame, and it tricks you. The perspective fools you. I thought, what are we looking at here? What is this? And he walks in. It's such a nice angle in the way he looks straight up at the camera. I'd like to think that's a Spike design shot. But while I was researching, I did see a couple of things that he does that appeared a lot in this film. And full disclosure, I don't think I've seen a full Spike film before this one. I think
you
I've
have
seen
now.
bits and pieces of Malcolm X over the years, whenever it was on TV, or even when first time shown on television. I think I saw it and someone was watching a DVD. I don't know, but I've never seen a full Spike Lee film. So when I saw these things, I'm like, yes, they happened. So apparently in nearly every one of his films, there's a wake-up call that occurs. And they, it's close up on the phone and go, wake up.
Really?
So there was a
fun.
wake up call.
I didn't know that.
It was a wake up scene. And I thought, well, it didn't say wake up. But they do say wake up later on. And that's when Sergeant Trapp is talking to Ron in that corridor. And they're foreshadowing who David Duke is. And he
Do
says,
you really think they'd elect someone like David Duke into the White House? Wake up, Ron.
Wake up. America would never elect somebody like David Duke. Why don't you wake up? Yeah, so that's one. He also does a dolly shot where he puts his actors on a moving platform.
This one I knew.
Camera will move with
one.
the platform, and the characters will just stay still as if they're drifting with the camera. That's really
so great.
A really effective and over the top technique where, as an audience member, you watch and you think, what's happening here? It gives a little head tilt in your brain to realize what's happening. I've seen it in a few other films and bits that have been done, not by Spike, but it's definitely something that he has throughout his films. It's definitely.
I think that's a really clever moment because what it does, because it's a purely cinematic technique, right? Yeah, and it kind of reminds you that, hey, we've been watching a film, because it happens right at the end. So hey, like, this is a movie, right? It's a film. Like, this isn't real. It doesn't exist. And then so it immediately goes from that moment to showing the clips at the end of the horrible things that happened in Charlottesville, which were again super effective and exceedingly clever. To go straight from that to those moments. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. I wanted to give a shout out to the costumes, hair and makeup are all wonderful in this film. Like the period kind of lends itself to some really cool outfits. But yeah, everyone just looks amazing in this movie, and the music. The music is sensational. Like, get this soundtrack. It is so good. Mm-hmm. I know Terrence, we had a little bit of a chat before. His favourite scene.
Was it really a chat, or was it sing along?
Yes, we may have sang a little bit when the recording equipment wasn't on, but
it was it was my favourite scene in terms of where I felt the best, and I loved
what is the scene?
It's the scene where Patrice meets Ron at the bar after the speech, and unfortunately it's led into by Patrice talking about how she had the incident with the police on the way there, and to snap her out of it, Ron says, "Come on, let's dance." So it's that dancing scene where they're singing that incredible song which has been stuck in my head for 3 days, and I fear if I sing it, I'm gonna not do it justice, but I'm gonna do it anyway. It's too late to turn back now. I believe I'm falling in love. That's it. I don't know the
You
words.
have to look
I
at
had
the
to
lyrics.
Look at the lyrics. Yeah.
Oh, that's so
had to.
cute.
And you know what that means? That I know that I can't sing because I tried to sing and I stuffed it up. Sorry, everyone. But I loved it. And
that
it's
was adorable.
in my head, and the way that was shot and how everyone was enjoying themselves so much. Everyone was having a great time. Camera was nice and close to the action. Everyone could dance really, really... I don't know if they danced well or not. It doesn't matter. It was just capturing their faces. There were a couple of shots of the feet, and they were synchronizing, and they were doing the Soul Train. You know, it was just brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
I love
It was a wonderful celebration.
I love
Celebration
watching old
for them.
Soul Train videos. I jump on the YouTube and just chuck them on in the background a lot of the time. But it was a nice celebration, and it was just a beautiful moment. I love that. Now, in terms of music, there was another song that was referenced. Now, that wasn't referenced, that was played. But there was a song that was referenced. And, you know, for people that know the song, it's not going to be a big surprise. But I listened to this, and it was used in speech. It was in the scene where Ron was teaching Felix how to speak like him. And you know how Ron was reading off a sheet?
Yes.
And he told him the lines to say?
Yes.
He was reading the lines of a James Brown song.
Oh,
And
really?
the James Brown song was, I wrote that down as well. What am I doing? Terrence, come on. Where are your notes?
That
Yeah.
explains at the end where they go,
That's exactly what it was.
that makes so much sense.
The song was Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. That's
Yeah.
the song. And I recognized
That's
it.
cool.
And I thought, what are they doing? And of course, that's the James Brown. And that's why he did it like that.
Oh, that's
but-
clever.
You know, and the reference or the importance of that song is it became the unofficial anthem to the Black Power movement as well.
Oh, really?
So that was, have a listen to the song. It's really cool.
I will.
Chuck
Yeah.
it into whatever you listen to
I
music on.
Love James Brown.
It's really, really cool, and that gives it a lot of weight as well. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
One more thing, music. The composer that Spike Lee uses in many of his films, his name's Terence Blanchard. And, you know, I like anyone else called Terence. I see very
that's
rarely
fun.
any Terences. But this guy is a world-renowned jazz musician. He's a jazz musician for Blue Note. And he's a composer. And I think he's the most used jazz musician in film composition.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. So he's
I
used
always
a lot
like-
in Spike Lee films.
I always used to like when I go to the movies, I always stay till the end of the credits and I always like to try and find how many people have my name.
And how many
it's so
spell
hard,
it the same way?
Yeah, it's so hard to find them that spells it the way I do with the Leigh, the correct way to spell Lee. Thank you very much.
So look, I'm not going to lie. That was why I actually researched Terence Blanchard.
Of course you did. That's amazing.
Yeah, and he spells his name the
Oh, well.
right way.
Now, speaking of Lees, let's talk about Spike Lee, the director. Oh, I'm so good with my things today. What are they called? No, I don't know. So Spike Lee,
connections.
I've written down my connections. Segues. It's my segues are good. Spike Lee, and I'm going to read out what I've written here verbatim because
Yeah.
I like the way that it sounds, so I don't want to paraphrase it. So Spike Lee commands this film. Whilst it's absolutely hilarious at times, you can never truly escape from the overhanging sense of dread that permeates the film. And that is absolutely him to a T. That it's deliberate. There's no way it's an accident. Like, it's so well crafted, and I don't know if you could get that done without Spike's stamp on this movie. And then the expertly displayed footage at the end of the movie, leading from, we alluded to it before, I want to talk about it now, where it shows the violence that was happening at the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, that led, unfortunately, to the death of Heather Heyer, who the film is dedicated to. Having that kind of bookend the film was just such an effective thing, and that was quite a late addition from the research that I did. It wasn't originally supposed to end like this, and when you have a moment as cool as him being on the phone to David Duke and like telling him who he actually is and slamming the phone down. Like, you've got the perfect end to like a Hollywood film right there for like, oh, have the feel goods, have everyone leave the theater and be like, oh, what an amazing experience that was. We left on a high. To make the conscious choice to end it with seeing these horrific acts of violence that were happening was such a powerful move and a really good idea and a welcome addition to the film, because it ends and you just have this uncomfortable sense of nervousness as to what you've just been witness to, and I think that's far more effective than any kind of sugar-coated Hollywood ending that could have been.
Yeah, they're very confronting images and things that when they were happening, I was watching it thinking, this is not true, this can't be real, what on earth is happening here? But really important for people to know and for people to be able to see. There were a few of those shots that I hadn't seen. Unfortunately, I'd seen it so many times recently. But yeah, it was pretty difficult to watch that. I was already worried about what I was going to say, how I can do this film, a bit of justice in the little way that we speak about it as friends talking about films, and what a heavy film this is. But to end like that was, extremely relevant. And again, another way that Spike is going to make sure that this, time stamps it and tells the world exactly how he feels and what he feels people should see, because cinema is one of the strongest forms of us holding on to our history and our culture, and it's something that people remember. You can write as much as you want in books, but films are easier for people to ingest and easier for people to recall and share and quicker. So he knows the power of a film, and to use this in a feature film is, I guess, a bit of a masterstroke. Could be quite divisive too, I could imagine. But
Yep. I mean, a lot of that comes from having good people behind the scenes. Like his producing partner on this film is Jordan Peele. Do you know who Jordan Peele is?
He was behind. Did he write Get Out?
And directed, Get Out.
Get Out.
Spoilers for I don't know when this is going to happen, but Get Out will be on the movie calendar. So I'm saying it straight up right now.
I have not seen Get Out, and
has to go on the movie calendar. It is incredible. It's so good.
There's a reason I haven't seen it. I don't really like scary movies, so
no, that's fair.
Is it? It's not scary.
It's more of a thriller. It's way more of a thriller than it is a horror.
Good.
But yeah, it's incredible.
I hate thrillers
and if you
more
do
than
want to
horrors.
watch Get Out, and to Terrence and to everybody listening and watching, go into it knowing as little as you possibly can. I wouldn't even watch a trailer.
Okay.
Just take the word of recommendation, please, and give it a watch and a listen to. But yeah, his production company Monkey Paw produced this film. They normally only greenlight films at a $5 million budget or under, unless it's a sequel. Sequels can go up to $15 million. He broke his that was the rule. He broke the rule for this one. This one has a $15 million budget, so he broke the rule for Spike, as you do, so that he could get this film as good as it possibly could. Jason Blum was also a producer as well from Blumhouse. There's a bunch of Blumhouse films that are really good and some mediocre ones, but sort out the good ones there. So yeah, the really good people behind the scenes. I think Jordan Peele actually brought this film to Spike and was like, I want you to have a look at this, and then he came back with all of his notes about injecting some humor, and I want to make it more relevant to the political landscape of what's happening today rather than of back then. So can we set it a bit earlier? And so we can have those parallels, and obviously it ended up happening. But yeah, it's an amazing partnership between those two.
People are totally gonna flame me for saying this, but is Jordan Peele, does he have comedy background?
Huge comedy background,
Okay.
yeah. So he's one half of the Key and Peele
All right.
combo, yeah.
Good.
Which, like, because that's kind
Which
of
I've
what
never
all he
really
was
seen.
all he was really known for before sort of Get Out came out, and everyone was like, where did this come from? He ended up winning the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay the year
Forget Out.
after it came out of the Oscars, which very well deserved. I'm pretty sure he won. I might have to fact check myself here. If he didn't, he should have. It's such an incredibly written movie,
Okay.
which will appear on the calendar at some point.
I want to watch
that's
some
all.
of their comedy.
That's all I wanted to. That's all I wanted to talk about for the film. We're going to get into some what about whens now, if that's cool, Terrence. Or did you have another thing that you wanted to mention before we do that?
Yes,
Cool.
I do. I want to talk about the very last thing that we see as part of the film, just before the credits.
Okay.
And it was the upside down American flag
Oh,
that then turned black and white.
Black and white. Yeah.
Now, I'm guessing this might have also been part of the last edition, because I know there are really strong things about flags, not only in the USA with everything that happens over there, but just in general. There are rules that happen when you represent a flag or when you use a flag or fly a flag, which is not just specific to the United States. But I thought I'd just look into what it means to hold a flag upside down, for starters.
Yep.
And I didn't know where to look. I just Googled it, and I
think I did the same. I did the same search.
I found, and I thought this might be, it'd be reputable. It was from the Cornell Law School site. So I know Cornell is a massive university over there. So, and it says it's US Code 8, respect for flag. And I'll read it out. So it says, the flag should never be displayed with the Union down, except as a signal of dire distress in instances of extreme danger to life or property.
Yeah.
And then he fades it to black and white as well, which I guess is just a talking to everything. You can draw a lot of metaphor between that. But that, what a really, that in itself, he could have just started the film like that and you think, oh, I know what this film is going to be about. But,
you're absolutely right.
To consciously
in my
turn the flag.
to alleviate some of the concerns that you might have about that research, I did a little bit of research. I did a Google and found the same information as well. That an upside down American flag is a sign of distress, and we need help.
I think it's the same for any nation. A ship flying its flag upside down is a distress signal.
Sure. I wonder how that'd work for like Japan or something that has their flag is just it's symmetrical. That doesn't really work, I guess. And they'd be like, we've got it upside down, come and please help us. And we didn't know, sorry. Some are more obvious than others. Or isn't the Union Jack, isn't the flag for the UK is the same if you turn it upside down?
I don't think it is. I think there are slight differences with the way that red and white. And
I don't want to have to get the binoculars out and study. Be like, are they in distress? Or hang on, let me just get out my measuring tape. And
I actually think just recently, not to be too topical and of timely of when we record this, but I think their Prime Minister has just gotten in trouble for doing something like that inadvertently because it's so difficult to identify if it is upside down or not.
Classic.
Yeah.
Love that.
Anyway, not to be political.
No, that's a really, really good way to end the film with that upside down flag fading to black and white. Awesome. Good shout.
I think that's all. I don't know. I'll do my usual.
We're going to go straight. We're going to go straight into courtesy of time. We're going to go straight into what about when. So it's coming up on the screen here. We'd love some contributions to this one as well. So we are on Twitter and Instagram at The Movie Cowl. Our email is themoviecowl@gmail.com, and you can see all of these in the description below and on our website that's down there too.
Yes.
But so it's kind of what we were saying before. It's the feeling of when you leave a cinema for the first time with your friends and you haven't quite processed the film, which this one definitely lends itself to that mentality. And so all you can talk about is what about this, what about when this, and what about when that. And so, we've written some down here. We've got one from Instagram that Terrence will do, which is lovely. And on a little surprise on Instagram we had this week, a nice little thing for our little podcast that we'll talk about. So, I've got shoot off with your what about when.
Okay, so this was from Instagram, from Tobias J. Ruse. He says, what about when this photo was taken? So this is in reference to the Insta post, which is the Polaroid photo that was taken in that Klan meeting after their inauguration? I don't know. And he takes that shot and right at the last second grabs them in and does that hug.
Yeah.
Classic.
So funny.
Classic.
I don't know if that happened in real life or not. I would imagine no, but
I don't
like
know.
if it did, wow, incredible.
That'd be so cool.
I love Flip's reaction when he references at the end when he's got the photo and he's like, when you put your arms around them, I almost shit my pants.
Well, look, that's not the end of it. So that's what this is in reference to. So he says, what about when this photo was taken? Just before Flip Zimmerman takes this photo for Ron Stallworth, Ron grabs both Duke and Jesse, making it an extremely awkward moment for the Grand Wizard and his friend Jesse. It was a very big middle finger in their face in the most brilliant of ways. Thought it was an incredible scene. Yes, I did too. That was one of my what about whens. Now, here's the cool thing about that what about when.
Yeah, this is really fun.
We had 3 characters in it. We had Topher Grace, we had John David Washington, and the character that plays Jesse, his name is Ryan. The actor that plays the character Jesse, his name is Ryan. I'm going to mispronounce his surname. Primsberger.
Primsberger?
I'm so sorry, Ryan, if you're watching this. Anyway, Ryan. So I found out on Insta. I like to find out what the real Instagram things are for people. So I found him and I tagged him in this photo. And, he replied. And he replied, "Thanks, guys. That was a fun scene to film."
Yay, thank you, Ryan. That was really sweet.
That was cool.
I know you're only a small character in the film, but yeah, we're a very small podcast, and it was a really exciting moment for us to have. Wow, one of the actors has commented on one of our posts, so that was really sweet.
Jump on Instagram, follow us, the Movie Callan. You'll see what I'm talking about. I replied to him as well, but that was really cool. So that was What About When from Instagram. Thank you very much, Tobias, for sharing that. That is shared by both of us as well. I have a couple. Do you have one, Lee?
Yeah, I've got 4. Courtesy of time, I'll probably only do 2, so I'm going to choose. I've already spoken about the Black Student Union speech.
Yes.
In pretty great detail when we're talking about the cinematography, so I'll leave that on the floor, but I've definitely got that as my What About When, my favourite part of the film. Let's go.
You do
what
one,
about
I'll do
when?
One, then you do one.
All right. What about when he realized that he was talking to David Duke on the phone when he was calling, trying to get the administration to send his membership card through, and it's like, this is David Duke, and just that moment of, oh my god, I'm speaking to David Duke. This is hilarious. That was a really cool moment. And then they legitimately did. They corresponded on the phone for a long time. That's unbelievable. This black detective and the Grand Wizard of the KKK, which is just, it's you couldn't write something like that. It had to come from real life.
And of course, he could tell immediately he was speaking with a white person because of the way that white people say "are."
Yeah, he pronounces certain words. Actually, there's an interesting moment there a bit later on where he's like, "Well, I know the difference." And then he's like, "Take you for example, Ron." And then there's a pause, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get caught."
I've been made.
The hesitation that he's got putting the phone back on his. He's like, "I know that I'm speaking with a proper white man," or whatever the racist term that he uses for it, with proper Aryan blood running through his, I don't know, stupid David Duke.
But what about Ron's response to that after he educates him on how to tell? Ron's response, I had to write that down as well.
Yes.
Yeah. He goes, "Wow, you are so white. Thank you for bringing that to my attention."
It's so good. I also love when he gets off the phone at one point and he's like, "God bless white America," and he's like giving the finger to the phone as he hangs it up. He's so great.
I love it. All those moments. I'm like, what is going on? All right, so I'll do one.
Okay.
Another phone call moment. The very first phone call he makes, and he hangs up the phone call, and all the detectives turn around, and Flip goes, "Did I just hear you use your real name?"
Oh no. Yeah, amateur hour here. Well done. Good luck with your new racist friends, Ron.
Did he realize as well?
Oh, redneck. Good luck with your new redneck friends. Yeah.
He had no idea either. He's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah. Well, so that So that scene, there's a bit of not licensing, like they've taken the world and they fictionalized a little bit, because in the book he actually, when he was reading the ad in the paper, because he had to go through the paper and look for stories as a detective, and he found the advertisement, and it was more, you had to mail to a PO box and then they would get in contact with you, and so he used his real name thinking that they just sent him some reading materials, but no, they ended up calling him, and so he answered the phone. This is Ron Stallworth, and so that's how it happened.
Wow.
But yeah, so funny.
Wow. And a bit that they miss in the film, because I found that out as well, that they did it by mail. It wasn't instant, ring and they call
Again,
back.
it's a movie. It's not a documentary.
It's fine. But I one thing that I think it would have been nice if they put into the film was the reason why he calls. They totally... Why? You see a title for the Klan and have a phone number? Why would you call? But I think the reality was that they were starting a new chapter in Colorado Springs, and it was like a call out for interest, and that was in real life what he was doing. You thought, well, maybe I can get some information. Yeah. All right.
That was a really funny moment.
You have
I've got one. This moment stuck with me after I watched the film for the first time, and it's the shooting range scene where Flip is hanging out with getting intel on the Klan.
Yeah.
And they're a gun range. What you think is a gun range, where they're just sort of shooting their weapons. Also, if you think that Adam Driver looks like he knows how to handle a weapon really well, he does. He's ex-military.
Oh, in real life, really?
In real life, yeah. He served in the American military.
Cool.
So yeah, if he looks like he knows how to handle a weapon, he probably does. And yeah, so the scene ends of them, joking around. Oh, I bet you $50 I can make this shot or whatever. And like, oh, I'll take that. And, oh no, make it 10. I'm not good for 50. It's all good times. And they leave, and then Ron Stallworth comes in and he's kind of examining the scene, and there's a beautiful score that comes across, and he's sort of examining the empty shells on the ground, and you realize at this moment you haven't seen what they've been shooting at, and the camera turns around and you see these figures, these sort of caricatures of black children, essentially, that they've been shooting at, and it's horrific. And yeah, incredibly powerful. I know I've said that word a lot for this film, but it really is, and it almost made me cry. I felt really awful at that reveal, which is exactly what it intended to do. So yeah, that was a huge what about when moment for me.
Yeah, it was pretty gut-wrenching seeing that reveal. Yeah, I had the same thing down. For my what about wins. Yep. I wonder what the actors go through when they have to face these images, this imagery. They're just playing the part, but I
would hope that there was probably some cinematic magic that was used in there, where they weren't actually, like, because a lot of the cameras were set up in front, so all they would have been shooting at would have just been like a video village. Like there would have been nothing there. They would have been told what it was, but yeah, I don't think they would have made them do that.
Maybe not even. They don't have to be told that just to show it look like they're shooting in a firing range. True.
It doesn't really hold any bearing over the scene as to what they're doing. They're just shooting. Yeah. So it was horrific.
They could have done that totally separate and set it up later on.
Yeah. My last what about when,
Yep.
which I'll do, and then you'll have one or two more. Is when Flip comes out of the house after Ron throws the brick through through Felix's house's window.
Felix's house.
And he runs out and grabs the gun off Felix and starts shooting it at Ron driving away, but he's obviously deliberately shooting at the road and yelling racist tirades at him to try and prove to the Klan members that he is in fact who he says he is.
Yeah.
Such an incredible scene, and what a wonderful performance of like, do I need to take your lie detector test now? Yeah, that's a really cool moment.
That was cool. When he threw the gun back at him, I'm like, don't throw guns. Don't throw... But he can only do that because he's so tall. The way he towered over the top of him to grab his gun, I thought, well, that was a cool move. It got me there. He's so bad at shooting a car, and then we see him in the shooting scene where he gets this target right on. you saw Felix kind of query how good
Yeah.
he is at shooting. I thought, why would you do that? If you're, I sometimes
I think-
don't believe that in real life a character would actually do that. I think he would actually miss on purpose to keep the, I don't know.
I think he wants to impress. I think he wants to impress them because he's still trying to get in good with them.
Yeah, and you see him patting the
you've
back.
always got the heat of the moment argument when it comes to something like
Yeah.
that. Like, you know,
he still wants to prove.
yeah,
that he's
I could
worthy.
be really good at doing a certain thing, like, but then when the pressure's on and there's people around or whatever, like you stuff it up easily. So yeah, it could have been something like that, running on adrenaline. But no, I think it's a testament to how good he is as a with a weapon, as to him shooting at the ground and say essentially he could have saved Ron's life in that moment.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, exactly. Okay. Oh man. What about when Flip is in the little den of Felix's in the lie detector scene, and they talk about the Holocaust, and Felix says, "Nah, it's all fake." My what about when Flip flips the story of what the Holocaust meant to him, as an anti-Semite, where he says this was the best thing that could have happened. What do you mean it didn't happen? I've
trying to really convince him.
I've never thought of this kind of viewpoint before, maybe because it's so horrible to think about, but it was pretty intense and amazing how he did that. And that was also a big moment for him to deny who he was as well, and to be able to say these things. That was pretty big. And straight off the bat of that was another funny moment where he says, he goes, "Are you circumstanced?"
Circumstance, yeah.
Show me.
I know you Jews do something funny with your parts. Are you circumstanced? Idiot, such an idiot.
You circumstance. Yeah,
that's good.
There were a couple of lines that I want to point out as well. That's all my what about when.
All right, we'll do a couple of quotes.
A couple of quick lines, quick ones. I love when they did reiterate the all the power to all the people.
Yeah, that's great.
I like that. I like that sentiment. I like that as a bit of a chant, and as a not a chant. I don't know. Anyway, I like that phrase, all the power to all the people. And I don't know how true that is in history, if that was used, but I like it. There's a scene also where Flip confronts Ron, had to peek at his name again, in the file room, where it's after Ron has this incident with the lie detector test, and he says, "Look, I nearly lost my life here." And he says, "For you, this is a crusade. For me, it's a job." And I started to fall away from Ron's ideals of not his ideals, but why he was doing this. I'm like, come on, you being swayed now. You're having a little power play. You have the ability to go in and try and infiltrate. What's the reasoning? After he said this, but I like it because it flips, because then it becomes something that meaningful to Flip as well. Yeah. And another really damaging part to it, or hurtful part, when we find out that Landers, the bad cop, had actually killed a black kid who he said had a gun, and they're in that little interview room, and he says, why don't you dob him in?
Didn't seem like the type.
And they do their line, and they say, right or wrong, we stick together. He says,
family.
I know another group of people that think like that too.
Yep, absolutely right.
It's just
and unfortunately, whether that was true at that police station or not in history, I don't know, but I definitely know that it's a thing that happens, and happens.
Yeah.
Once is too much, but the amount that it occurs is awful, and change needs to happen.
Yeah. Did you notice in one of the conversations that Ron has with David Duke that they're talking about? David Duke says that's why America needs people like you and me in office. And he kind of pauses for a moment to catch his words, and he says, that's why we need people like you and I in office, for America to achieve its greatness again. Yeah. And I saw the purposeful pause, and just thought, oh, there we go. There's some foreshadowing there as well into
very
real life.
Very much so.
Yeah. But look, I think that's
Cool.
There's a lot more, but I can't go into it anymore. Comment below if you've got some other things you want to talk about.
Yeah.
If you've got other what about whens we didn't mention, or really important moments that you think we missed, which we have, please let us know below.
Yeah, heavy film.
Yeah.
Really hope we did this one justice. This is a film that as much as it is a harrowing watch, I think it's important for this film to be seen, which is why it is appearing on the movie calendar. It wouldn't appear if we didn't think so. So we hope that we did it justice. If we seemed a little bit nervous, we probably were, just because of the sheer importance of this film, and the date is going to reflect that as well. So with that in mind, we're going to move straight into the movie calendar. So the moment we're all here for. So we're going to place the movie on the calendar, so that you've got a day of the year where you can put on this film, and you don't have to worry about thinking about what you're going to watch. We've got you covered. And the date that we have chosen... Actually, before we say that, we would love some contributions as well. Very soon we're going to announce what next week's film's going to be. I kind of have a date in mind already for next week's film. So maybe just hit us up with your what about whens. Or if you have a date with a story, let us know on Twitter, Instagram, or email. And we'll be able to place a film on the calendar just for you on that day. So for BLACKkKLANSMAN, Spike Lee's BLACKkKLANSMAN, we have chosen February 1st. And the reason is that date is the beginning of Black History Month within the United States. And until things change, this is an important movie to be seen, and to mirror that, or to show that in the best way that we can, is we're going to put it on that day. So February 1st for BLACKkKLANSMAN, directly before Groundhog Day. So that's a bit of a left turn from one film to the next, but yeah, so that's where it's going to be, February 1st.
Yep. Cool.
Happy with that, Terrence?
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Why not? Very
And
relevant. American history.
We're not authorities on this subject. So if there's anyone out there who has a date that they might prefer, generally the rule is once a date is chosen, it's sort of stuck there. But there will be some leniency with this one if you feel that there would be a better date for it. But I would like for it to be in February. And at the moment, February 1st is where it's going to be.
Yeah. You know, there was a line in the film. Again, I wrote it down. I didn't read it, but I do want to say it. They're talking. It was in that long shot. Patrice and Ron are talking where the movie posters come up, and they're talking about how Ron thinks, you know, you might be able to take the system down from the inside, and she says it's impossible. You can't. But he says something that I've been saying all along with all this. You know, I don't want to. Luckily, I don't have enough information to share a full educated opinion about this and argue my point and everything, but everyone thinks things, and this was echoed with my thought as well. And he actually said, talking about bringing the system down from the inside, he says, we're not there yet, because she thinks it can't be done, the system's broken. He goes, yeah, I know, but we're not there yet. And I think that's something that I like to think. You know, everyone wants to do things, great. Sometimes we can't do them right now. We're not there yet. There are steps we've got to take, and films like this are part of those steps.
Yeah, massive part.
Yeah,
massive part. Yeah, if not now, when? If not you, who?
Nice.
Thank you. All right. Nice. So next week's film.
Yes,
we've been alluding to it in the last few episodes that we wanted to do something for episode 10 that was a little bit special. So this is a little bit special for me. I've spoken recently about how I can't wait to put our first superhero movie on the calendar, because I'm a huge comic book nerd, and I can't wait to put a Marvel movie on there. Completely forgetting that Scott Pilgrim is a comic book movie, and that we've literally got that on the calendar already. So I feel like an idiot for that and have completely discredited myself. But so we're going to do our first MCU film next week
for episode 10.
It's probably going to be less of a film discussion than it is more of a history as to how this film came about and how it was made, because the story behind it is absolutely fascinating and super interesting. So I can't wait to get into that, as well as talking about the film a little bit.
Oh, good.
But it is going to be...
I was going to get a cardboard cutout of myself to put here. What will it be?
So the film is going to be... Do you hear that? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, episode 10 of the movie calendar, we are talking about 2008's Iron Man. You can hear the music already. It's great. Terrence is going to put some music in here. It's going to be marvelous.
Oh, will he? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Terrence, in advance. As well as the soundbite that I was alluding to. I'll talk to you about that later. So,
All right. That was great.
So next week, Iron Man. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us on this ride for BLACKkKLANSMAN. And we will see you next week. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to Terrence.
Thanks, Lee. See you later.
Bye, everyone.